7. Sarbanes-Oxley and COSO ERM. This material is created by EasyPathUni by Cordations with Yazan Ibrahim.
Hmm.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a topic that, while it might sound a bit dry on the surface, corporate accountability, financial transparency.
Regulatory stuff, yeah.
Exactly. But honestly, this is where the rubber meets the road for how major companies handle their money, their risks, their integrity. It's crucial stuff. And to help us unpack it, we're drawing on some fantastic insights from Yazan Ibrahim.
Right. Yazan brings a really impressive background. Currently head of audit for a financial department. That gives him a real boots-on-the-ground view of how all this works in practice.
Absolutely. And the credentials back it up.
Oh, definitely. We're talking CISA, that's Certified Information Systems Auditor, CFE Certified Fraud Examiner, GRCP and GRCA, the Governance, Risk, and Compliance Professional and Auditor certs.
So deep GRC knowledge.
Deep GRC, plus IPPA for public procurement, FMVA for financial modeling, CBCA for commercial banking, BETA for business intelligence. It's quite the list.
It really paints a picture. Skills in audit, risk management, financial analysis, all built on a solid education background. It means he sees this from multiple angles.
Precisely, which is perfect for today.
So our mission here is to cut through that complexity. We're focusing on two foundational pillars: Sarbanes-Oxley SOx, as most people know it, and the COSO Enterprise Risk Management Framework, or ERM.
The goal being?
To pull out the key insights, really give you a shortcut to understanding how these things are evolving, especially now in 2025, with technology and, well, all the new global challenges.
And maybe bust a few myths along the way.
Definitely. We'll touch on some surprising things like the personal liability executives face, real teeth there, and how AI is, both a help and a hindrance.
A double-edged sword for sure. It's not just about dusty old rules, it's about how businesses navigate today's world.
Okay, let's dive in. Starting with SOx, Sarbanes-Oxley. Some might think, oh yeah, that thing from the early 2000s, Enron, WorldCom.
Ancient history, right?
Right. But the reality check is, more than 20 years later, SOx isn't just relevant. It's arguably more critical than ever in 2025. Still the bedrock of U.S. financial regulation.
It really is. It was born out of crisis, those huge accounting scandals that just shattered public trust.
Yeah.
And its core job, still today, is rebuilding and keeping that confidence.
How? By boosting corporate accountability.
Making sure financial disclosures are actually accurate.
And yeah, hitting hard with penalties if there's fraud. It's interesting how it's shifted, though. It's not just a legal hoop to jump through anymore, is it?
Not at all. Compliance is now seen as just, well, sound business practice. It forces companies to strengthen their internal controls, which naturally helps minimize errors and, frankly, run things better.
It builds a more robust organization, you could say.
From the inside out, exactly. And SOX achieved this with some provisions that were, and still are, pretty game-changing, the kind that make executives really pay attention.
Okay, you mentioned making executives pay attention. What's the mechanism that gives SOX its real bite, especially for individuals? I know Section 302 is key here.
Section 302, yes. This is where it gets very personal. It says the CEO and the CFO are personally on the hook.
Personally responsible. For what, exactly?
For the accuracy and completeness of the financial reports, and importantly, for the integrity of the internal control system itself. They can't just delegate this away.
Wow. So they have to sign off personally.
Personally attest, quarterly. And that attestation has to be based on a review they've done within the last 90 days. Plus, if they find any significant control weaknesses or any fraud, they must disclose it to the audit committee.
Okay, stop there. Quarterly, personal sign-off. Just think about that pressure. You're the CEO, you're signing your name, knowing that if there's a major screw-up in the controls or the numbers...
It's not just the company facing fines.
Right. It could be personal fines for you, even jail time. That's intense. That has to be a massive driver for getting compliance right and using modern tools.
Absolutely massive. You simply cannot afford to rely on outdated manual checks done once in a blue moon. That quarterly deadline, that personal risk, it practically demands continuous monitoring and real-time data.
Gives them the confidence to actually sign, I suppose?
Or highlights where the problems are before they sign. Either way, it forces attention.
So that's Section 302, the personal hammer, you might say. What about the broader organizational piece, ensuring the whole system of financial reporting is sound? That brings us to Section 404, right? The one people often groan about because it's so involved.
Yes, Section 404 definitely has a reputation for being resource intensive, and for good reason. It requires management, the company as a whole, to establish, maintain, and crucially annually assess the effectiveness of their internal controls over financial reporting, ICFR.
And they have to report on that assessment.
They have to disclose it in the annual report. And for most public companies, that's not all. An independent auditor then has to come in and provide their own attestation on management's assessment, double-checking it, essentially.
What's really shifted here, I think, is what counts as a material weakness. It used to be more about pure accounting errors, right?
Traditionally, yes. But now, in 2025, the scope is much wider. A material weakness could arise from a cybersecurity breach
Okay.
or insider misconduct, data privacy failures, even risks related to ESG, environmental, social, and governance reporting if they impact financials.
So a problem in IT security or a breakdown in an operational process that could now be flagged as a financial reporting control weakness under 404.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
If it could materially affect the financial statements, it forces companies to take a much more holistic view of risk. It's not just the finance department's problem anymore.
Right, it connects everything. So just to quickly recap the difference, 302 is CEO, CF, personal sign-off, quarterly, high personal stakes.
Correct. Personal liability is key.
And 404 is management's responsibility, annual assessment of the overall internal control system for financial reporting, company-level disclosure, often audited.
Exactly. Both critical, but different focus and frequency.
Got it. Now, overseeing a lot of this, especially the auditing part, is the PCAOB, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. They haven't stood still either, have they?
No, definitely not. The PCAOB has really shifted gears. They've moved from being perhaps more reactive to proactively trying to drive audit quality. They've revamped how they inspect audit firms. They've toughened enforcement, particularly in tricky, complex areas.
And there's a big new standard coming, right? QC 1000.
That's the one, a major milestone. It officially kicks in December 15th, 2025. And the big change is moving audit firm quality control from a sort of rules-based checklist.
To a risk-based approach.
Precisely, a risk-based approach. It's pushing audit firms to really think critically about where the risks to audit quality lie within their own operations and design controls to address those specific risks.
That sounds familiar. A risk-based approach for auditors. How does that mess with how companies themselves are managing risk?
You've hit on a key point. It's a strategic convergence. QC 1000 essentially requires audit firms to operate using principles very similar to modern enterprise risk management, like the COSO framework we'll discuss.
So the auditors and the companies they audit are starting to speak the same language, use similar approaches?
Increasingly, yes. It creates this powerful incentive for everyone, companies, auditors, to align their risk and control methods, their terminology, even the technology they use. QC 1000 actually lays out 8 core components for this risk-based system, things like risk assessment, governance and leadership, ethics, monitoring. It forces a more integrated, thoughtful approach to quality.
Okay, that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about those strategic blueprints companies use, the COSO frameworks. SOx doesn't actually tell companies which framework to use for internal controls, does it?
No, doesn't mandate one.
Right.
But in practice, the COSO Internal Control Integrated Framework, specifically the 2013 update, has become the undisputed standard for SOX 404 compliance. It's just what everyone uses.
And what does it provide? A kind of structure.
Exactly. It gives companies a principled structure for designing, implementing, and assessing their internal controls. It's built around 5 core components you need to get right. The control environment.
Like the ethical tone at the top.
Exactly. Ethical values, board independence, that sort of thing. Then there's risk assessment, control activities, the actual procedures people follow, information and communication, and finally, monitoring activities.
And within those 5 components?
There are 17 specific principles that need to be present and functioning. It's quite rigorous. For example, the risk assessment part inherently links to broader risk management. It requires identifying and analyzing risks, including fraud risk, and considering how major changes might impact controls.
So COSO IC, the internal control framework, is the go-to for HASOX 404. It's about getting the controls right for reliable reporting. But then there's KRSO Enterprise Risk Management. How is that different?
Particularly the 2017 update, integrating with strategy and performance, takes a much wider, more strategic view. It's not just about controls or reporting risk in isolation. It's about integrating risk management into the very fabric of the organization's strategy setting and performance management, looking at the full spectrum of risks, strategic, operational, financial, reputational, and how they might affect achieving business objectives. It's about balancing risk and reward, seizing opportunities while managing threats.
This sounds essential for the modern chief risk officer, the CRO. Their job isn't just ticking compliance boxes anymore.
Oh, far from it. The CRO role has evolved dramatically. They're now strategic advisors, helping the organization build resilience, navigate crises, make risk-informed decisions. COSO gives them the framework and the language to do that effectively, to break down silos between departments and talk strategically with the C-suite and the board.
Okay, let's try and nail this down simply. COSO, I say, think detailed blueprint for internal controls, vital for SACS 404, making sure the engine runs correctly.
Good analogy. Focus on reliability, compliance.
COSO think strategic compass for the whole organization, integrating all kinds of risk into strategy and value creation, making sure the engine is pointed in the right direction and can handle bumps in the road.
Excellent summary. is about the bigger picture, driving value, achieving objectives. They aren't mutually exclusive, though.
Right, they work together.
Absolutely. They're distinct but deeply interconnected. They reinforce each other. Using both strengthens controls, improves information flow up and down the organization, and fosters a much stronger risk-aware culture.
And how do companies make this actually work day to day, all these principles and frameworks?
Often the operational structure used is the three lines model. You might have heard of it.
Vaguely. First line, second line, third line.
Exactly. First line is typically operational management. They own the risks and controls in their daily jobs. Second line is functions like risk management and compliance. They provide oversight, expertise, monitoring. And the third line is internal audit, providing independent assurance that everything is working as it should.
So that model helps translate the COSO concepts into clear roles and responsibilities.
Precisely. It ensures accountability and keeps communication flowing between the lines. Makes it tangible.
Okay, this brings us nicely to technology. Because doing all this manually with spreadsheets, it sounds nightmarish.
It was nightmarish and incredibly inefficient. The big shift we've seen is away from those periodic, manual, siloed efforts towards continuous, automated, integrated risk management.
Driven by real-time data, key risk indicators, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And the central nervous system enabling this transformation is often a GRC platform.
GRC governance, risk, and compliance. So specialized software.
Integrated software suites, yes. Think of them as a central hub. They break down those departmental walls, pull data together, and give you a single holistic view of your entire risk and compliance landscape, like a dashboard for the company's health, risk-wise.
That sounds incredibly powerful. What can these platforms actually do?
Key capabilities. Well, first, centralized data. A single source of truth for all your risks, controls, policies, audit findings. Huge. Then, automated workflows streamlining things like collecting evidence for controls, scoring risks, monitoring control performance, sending out reminders.
Takes out a lot of the grunt work.
A ton of it. Plus, dynamic dashboards and reporting. Real-time visuals, heat maps showing risk levels, tracking KPIs and KRIs. This allows for actual data-driven decision-making, not just gut feel.
And what about those high-stakes sign-offs, like the ISACS 302 certs?
Modern GRC platforms handle that too. Secure, often legally binding digital sign-off forms make that quarterly CEO-CFO certification process much smoother and more auditable. Same for documenting things like the board's risk appetite.
You know, it feels like more than just better tools. It sounds like a different way of thinking about compliance.
It absolutely is. It reflects a philosophical shift. We're moving away from just checking boxes, did we do the activity, towards outcomes-based metrics, things like mitigation velocity.
Meaning how fast you fix problems.
Exactly. How quickly are high-risk issues being addressed? Or control maturity scoring. How effective are our controls, really? It connects risk management directly to achieving business goals, demonstrating its value, not just its cost.
And AI and automation are playing a big role within these platforms too, right? Especially for SOX.
A massive role. Think about control testing. Instead of manually pulling samples once a year, you can have automated tools running continuously.
Doing what?
Flagging discrepancies in transactions in real time. Automatically reperforming calculations and reports to check accuracy. Confirming system configurations haven't been changed inappropriately. Identifying who has access to sensitive systems crucial for IT general controls, or ITGCs.
That moves testing from reactive to proactive.
Completely. And then there's predictive analytics. This is where AI and machine learning really shine. They can analyze huge data sets, much more than a human could, to spot subtle patterns, anomalies, and actually forecast potential risks before they blow up.
Like predicting where a process might fail, or detecting unusual user behavior that could indicate fraud.
Precisely those kinds of things. Finding heavy gaps you wouldn't otherwise see. It shifts the focus from what went wrong to what might go wrong next, allowing you to intervene early. Add in digital documentation, automated report generation. It all makes compliance faster, smarter, and way more transparent.
Okay, so bringing this back to management's role in 2025, how does doing the annual CESOX 404 assessment look different now? Is it still that year-end panic?
Hopefully, much less panic. With continuous monitoring tools, tracking control effectiveness becomes an ongoing activity throughout the year. Deficiencies get spotted sooner, giving more time for remediation before the formal year-end assessment.
So it's smoother, more integrated into the normal rhythm of business?
Ideally, yes, and it's definitely a collaborative effort. Management, as the first line, owns the controls, but they work closely with internal audit, the third line, who provides that independent assurance. Mature organizations even create an assurance map.
What's that?
It basically aligns management's risk register with the internal audit plan. Make sure they aren't duplicating testing efforts and that all the critical risks are getting appropriate coverage from one line or another, efficiency and effectiveness.
Makes sense. And what about executing that really critical SOx 302 certification, the personal one for the CEO and CFO every quarter? How does technology help there?
Those automated workflows and digital sign-off forms we mentioned are key. They provide the structure and the audit trail. Quarterly questionnaires or surveys pushed out to the GRC platform can also gather necessary input from business units to support the executive's review.
And the CRO plays a big part here too, presumably.
A critical part. The CRO, overseeing the whole program, acts almost like a risk assurance officer for the C-suite in this context. They consolidate the view of all types of risk, financial, operational, compliance, strategic bowl, and provide the data, the analysis, the insights that allow the CEO and CFO to sign that certification with confidence.
So the CRO gives them the backing they need, given the personal liability involved in 302.
Exactly. It connects the broad view directly to that specific high-stakes SOX requirement.
Okay, let's pull this all together as we wrap up. The big picture seems to be this really tight, interwoven relationship now. You've got SOX providing the legal must-do.
The mandate, yes.
Then you have the COSO frameworks, IC and ERM providing the how-to, the strategic blueprints for control and risk management.
The structure and strategy.
And finally, modern GRC technology acting as the engine, the platform that makes it all actually work efficiently and effectively in real time.
That's a great way to put it. It's an integrated system. And the goal isn't just ticking the compliance box anymore. It's about building genuine organizational resilience, strategic agility, surviving and thriving in a complex world.
And that resilience is crucial, looking at the risks on the horizon.
Absolutely. When executives look ahead, say 2025 to 2027, the top near-term concerns consistently pop up. Macroeconomic volatility, inflation, recession fears.
Always top of mind.
AI-powered cyber threats getting more sophisticated all the time. Talent and workforce issues, finding and keeping the right people. And just the sheer pace of regulatory change globally. Interestingly, these remain top concerns, even when looking further out towards 2035.
That AI point is fascinating, the double edge you mentioned earlier.
It really is. AI gives us incredible tools for predictive analytics, automation. But attackers are weaponizing it too. Think deep fake videos for social engineering, AI-driven phishing attacks that are incredibly convincing.
So your ERM program has to account for AI as both a tool and a threat.
You absolutely have to. Investing in cybersecurity resilience, specifically against AI-driven attacks, has to be a priority.
And what about bigger global challenges? Geopolitics, climate change?
Huge factors. Geopolitical instability creates supply chain risks, market access issues. And climate change isn't just an environmental issue anymore, it's a financial risk. We're seeing regulations like the SEC's new climate-related disclosure rules forcing companies to quantify and report these impacts.
Meaning ERM needs things like scenario analysis, stress testing for these macro risks.
Definitely. You need to model potential impacts. And add to that the complexity of regulatory divergence, different countries rolling out their own AI rules, different non-financial reporting requirements. If you're a global company, keeping track manually is impossible.
So that tech-enabled ERM program, that robust GRC platform, it becomes a strategic necessity just to navigate the global landscape.
It really does. For tracking changes, mapping controls across jurisdictions, streamlining reporting, it's fundamental.
It really underscores the core message. A holistic, integrated approach to governance, risk, and compliance is no longer optional. It's the pathway to lasting corporate value and resilience.
Well said.
Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to chew on. As technology, especially AI, continues its relentless evolution, how will that force us to constantly rethink and redefine what effective internal control even means in a world that's so interconnected and changing so incredibly fast.
A challenging question, and one organizations will be grappling with for years to come. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the evolving world of SOX and COSO.
Yes, thanks for tuning in. We really hope you found this useful. We encourage you to think about how these ideas connect to your own work or just your understanding of how companies operate today. And hey, if there are other complex topics you'd like us to tackle, let us know. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.